Before I begin, thank you, Swati, for asking me out. I was actually surprised by you asking me out for this, to be here present. And, the topic, women in leadership, actually scared me for the same reason why, Professor Menon mentioned leadership is mostly identified and associated with more masculinity, and I would want to move as far away as possible from that. But then when your team and when Pooja said, no, it'll be about your journey, and if you can, and you of course also said, if you can talk about your journey, I thought, oh, that's easy. Because I can actually talk about myself and, I can share how life has been with me and where I am today. It feels very rosy and very nice. I have my team from NIFT also here listening to me, so they'll also get a bit of snippet from my life stories that I'll be sharing, and they'll say, oh, the boss is different. She speaks differently when she's at a different podium. So thank you for having me over. I'm obliged and honored at the same time to be here and speak a little about how life has been for me as a woman. And yes, at positions of leadership, most of the time in my professional life that I've been over the past 21 years now. With that, I think when I saw the topic, power, progress, and possibility, very interesting one, but also again very scary, because I don't want to identify myself with power. I see what a mother that I am, and my children don't like me. They are the two most scared, unfortunate beings in the world, because they have me as their mother. And they see all the power unleashed onto them, unabashed power, so they're not very happy with me there. So actually, I would want to kind of flip the topic while I'm speaking on the other way around. So for me, it is possibilities, progress, and then power. Because then power becomes a responsible one. And I, of course, resonate most with the word possibilities. And progress simply comes as a corollary to that, because you move forward. When there is a possibility, the only way available to you is moving forward. And also, mostly, more of it is said, but because I've written it down, I'll share with you. Power for me is a word which is associated more negatively. The way I have seen it, the way most of us have seen it, the way it was shared by Professor Menon as well, need not be said. But I think power requires that very delicate balance. Because with power, the first thing you think is there's somebody below you. You're above, you're superior. And that is something I'm not comfortable with. I do not want to associate myself with that. So I would want to flip it, say possibilities, progress, and power. When I'll share my journey and hopefully do justice to the flipping of the topic, the context, so that you are able to understand where I'm coming from. To start with, I come from a very small place from Bihar, one of the 5 daughters in the family. My brother is 11 years younger to me. So no need to say anything, you understand what it means. And of course, handed over with the mantle of taking the pride of the family forward, because I was the sabse padhaku bachcha in the family. I was doing good. So it was so easy, simply to put that responsibility on me. कि तू सबसे अच्छा बच्चा है, सबसे पढ़ने वाला पढ़ाकू बच्चा है, तो you will be the one who will do whatever that is needed. And very, very, smartly, I would want to believe that, my father did not think he was smart enough, but what he did with me was very smart. Very smartly, very intelligently, he kind of put this whole thing of becoming an IAS officer into my psyche. I did not even realize this was done to me. I only realized it like 5 years ago. Swati would know what I mean. And I was, what do you want to become? It was standard 4th, I remember. We used to have those slam books that you would fill in at the end of the year, and there was this question very stupidly as 8-year, 9-year-old, you would say, what do you want to become when you grow up? And I wrote an I.A.S officer. I did not know what it stood for. I had no clue what it meant, but that is what I wanted to become. And I actually became that. Lo and behold, whatever that it has brought me as becoming an IAS officer, I did become that. So what I'm trying to share with you is that, very, very slyly, very, very intelligently, this whole thought of you want to become this because you have to carry the mantle of the family. You have to become the pride of the family. My brother obviously came much later in our family, so he was not burdened with it. I was. I became the donkey of the family. And of course, it was my 3rd attempt. I was the topper of the school. I did all of those, tick boxes conveniently. I was the topper of my school. I came and got admitted to DPS RK which again was like a 99% नहीं मिले तो आपको DPS RK में hostel तो बिल्कुल नहीं मिलेगा, admission भी नहीं मिलेगी. I got in. I got into LSR. And, I was riding high and I was like, ठीक है, IAS तो हो ही जाएगा, इतना सारा कुछ तो हो ही रहा है, life, it's easy, I can do it. I did not clear the first 2 attempts. And then, then life came crashing down, कि अच्छा, failure भी कुछ होता है. There is something called failure and you not are always just riding high. So, I cleared the IAS in the 3rd attempt and I got the Punjab cadre, went and joined. But interestingly, I also was and still am the only female from my area where I belong to and from the community who is an IAS officer. So again, another huge burden on me, a big one, super big one. You keep getting calls from people, ये भी करवा दो, वो भी करवा दो. Country के किसी भी corner में कोई problem है, वो तो तनु करा देगी. So, so yeah. So that too. And, you can just understand and imagine the kind of power that I was feeling I was getting, right? And of course, made me feel immensely, immensely, immensely powerful by that time. And that also meant that I was behaving and feeling the same for every, in every aspect of my life. With members of the family, because I was the only one like that, with my own husband, with my own children, with my siblings, with my other relatives, with my professional relationships. So I was just becoming very powerful. And of course, there were many, many other such instances which was fueling that in me. As a young IAS officer, you get a subdivision, then you get a district to man, and I got to do 4 districts in Punjab, which is one of the rarest things. Again, I'm the only one, I think, in the cadre who did 4 districts, being a female officer. Punjab was not very kind to female officers initially, and most of our seniors who were female officers did not used to get districts. It used to be like a real jostle, milega, nahi milega. And doing a district, becoming the district magistrate, I'm sure all of you know, being the DC or the DM, is the, the biggest feather that you have on your cap. You get to do it in the first 10 years of your service. And that is the time when you don't want to do anything else but that. Because usi ke liye to service join kari hai. DM hi to banna hai. So, so I got to do 4. I ended up being, in situations where I was the only woman, youngest amongst another 45, 50 odd male members for a meeting, chairing a meeting. Meetings as crucial and as difficult as managing a riot situation or a flood situation, where you have 14 lakh people in the district depending on you as, someone who's holding everything together. So did all of that, and also became very aloof from what my real self was and just thought this is what I am. And, not really interacting much with my co-workers, keeping myself aloof, keeping that image, alive, and my team from NIFT must be thinking, "Ma'am, क्या बोल रहे हैं? ये तो है ही नहीं." ऐसे तो है नहीं. But I used to be that. People would be scared. Of course, DC से बात करने के लिए आपको 1000 बार सोचना पड़ता है. तो कमरे में भी आना और आपसे बात करना, अपना personal कोई problem, share करना was something which was a complete no-no in my mind. Because I'm not supposed to do that. I'm just supposed to be the boss. So keeping my life private, no sharing or understanding of what is happening in anybody else's life, or giving this fact, cognition that everybody else is also a human being to begin with. You're working with humans, and becoming more and more self-centered and only focused on work. But there was another side of this journey that was happening as well, because when we are talking of women in leadership and when we are talking of feminism and feminine and etc., there is also that masculine, which is the larger part in the context in the world, which is also working. And more times, it's not working in your favor being a woman. So did I not face it? Of course, I faced it. So, I had my episodes of that overt masculinity and power that people hold in places of work, in places of society, in places of power. And again, I was the first one who fought for my childcare leave. And I said, I have to take chutti because I'm not, I was also, so my husband is not in the services. He runs his own business. He's an engineer, an MBA, and he said, इस service में तो बिल्कुल नहीं जाना है, तुम बहुत गंदा काम करती हो. I don't want to do this. I want to do something else. So he runs his own business. And all our, married life, except the last 2 years, we have been living apart, managing 2 households because he was based out of Delhi, NCR, and I was in Punjab. तो बहुत कोशिश करी हमने कि we somehow align ourselves together, live together, नहीं हो पाया. So I, of course, when I had my first child, I was told 6 months ka maternity and that is all. I knew if I was only having 6 months ka maternity and I go back to work, that was the only chance when I was also living with my husband, practically for 6 months. So I fought for, the first childcare leave. It had just come for the government servants then. And the personnel department in Chandigarh told me, hota kya hai ye? So I said, hey, Government of India ka rule hai. I am an All India Services officer and I know I am eligible for it. So they said, we haven't heard of it. Papers take time to go from Delhi to Chandigarh. Utna samay lagta hai. So then I, searched for all the documents, gave them, went and met the secretary, and I said, sir, I need this. And I was away for 13 months, 6 months of my maternity and 7 months of my CCL. When I went back, when I joined back, my batch, we are 5 of us in the batch, 4 of them are boys, I was the only one. All of them had gotten their districts. Like I said, DM banna to sabse zyada zaruri tha. So they had gotten their districts, and when I went and I met the super boss who all of us report to, he was like, okay, koi baat nahi, dekhte hain. And I was made to wait for, I knew it would come. Milna to hai hai. It's not that you will not get it, but I had to wait. I had to wait for 3.5 months. And during those 3.5 months, I got to hear a lot of things. Because you were away from the scene for 13 months, you were going and meeting people again, you were going and meeting seniors. I don't have any qualms in sharing it here. One of our seniors, who used to also be one of my bosses in my earlier postings, told me, 13 months, how many children did you have, Tanu? And I was like, I was so shocked that I just couldn't respond at that time. Now I feel, if I'm said that, I will ask him on his face, how many children did your wife had if she was given 13 months ka chutti? But this was what I was told. One of the other told me, oh, 13 months, kaam to nahi bhul gayi ho? On my face. So, so yes, there are, and I wanted to share these instances because they kind of also had shaped me over my journey, because while you get to listen to this, does that become your defining statement? Do you become overtly masculine in what how you behave more, or you actually think there is more reason to bring back the feminine into the system so that there is compassion rather than such things. So this was, and then of course I got my districts. I did 4 of them. I wanted to, move to Delhi because of my husband. I was told कि नहीं इतने अच्छे अवसर को तो हम जाने नहीं दे सकते, and all of that. चने के झाड़ में भी अच्छा चढ़ाया जाता था when it was needed. But that's how, professional life was. But, what it was doing to me was, personally, was something very, very different. And by the time I was 13, 14 years of my service, I realized that I had made a complete mess of my life. Completely. And I was emotionally confused all the time. I did not know what was right, because I knew that, being with my kids, being the mother, I mean, even today, the chair that I'm holding, if I'm not there, somebody else will come and take that chair. I'm absolutely indispensable there. But am I indispensable as a mother? I am not. I've had a full-time help at home for the last 13 years. And yet, I see things that my children do, and I'm like, oh shit, मैं होती तो मैं ये होने नहीं देती if I was there with them 24/7, right? So I ended up being absolutely confused, absolutely doubting myself. What am I doing? And self-doubt and, rejection of my own self, because I would keep, and I'm sure the women in the room will absolutely, agree with me, the guilt that we carry with ourselves when we come to our offices and when we go home is something which is unparalleled. बच्चे को टाइम नहीं दे पा रहे हैं तो गिल्ट जमा करते हैं, ऑफिस में टाइम नहीं दे पा रहे हैं तो गिल्ट जमा करते हैं, सो दोनों तरफ से पिस रहे होते हैं बेसिकली. So that is what was happening, and it was, I wouldn't say, my story isn't different from anyone else, any one of you. But still, because it is my story, I would like to believe that it was, the degree was much higher because I was experiencing it. And I would simply get torn between the work-life balance. Absolutely. Yes, I became a single mother for almost 8 years because I was living alone in Chandigarh with 2 kids. And then finally, eventually, thankfully, life had other plans for me. And I stumbled into, into 2 people who are now my mentors and guru, and into a meditative practice, which flipped life for me. Did I leave my job? No, I did not. Am I not a boss, and am I not, I don't get work done? Of course not. I do that very much, but much better than what I used to do earlier. And how? So, I was opened to those aspects of life which I seriously did not know existed. I was a person who would always see glass half empty. And this is a very, very personal thing, I would not see possibilities. In spite of the fact that I was soaring high in my life and doing all the things that anybody thinks is the tick boxes for being successful, I had that. And yet I was a person deep in my core who would always see the glass half empty. Now was my time to see that glass actually is half full, it's not empty. And that completely changed the way I would see myself, my life, what I do, and how I do it. And, I could then detach myself from the compulsive behaviors that I had and could clearly pick the choices that was necessary. Swati was talking about picking the choices. That is when I started realizing and recognizing that I have a choice to live like this, and I will choose to live better. And, career over family, of course, was a question and a struggle and a fight and a war, I would say, all these years. Became absolutely easy to choose. The shift from Chandigarh to Delhi just happened. I did not really have to, struggle like I used to in my earlier years where I was doing my district and my husband would say, why don't you look for a posting in Delhi? And I would say, नहीं, ज़िला complete तो करना है ना, इसी के लिए तो नौकरी में आए हैं. So, that shift became so much easy. It was a no-brainer for both of us that I need to shift, and we will see what we'll do. And as life would have it, I share this with most people, NIFT came to me just like that. This was an assignment that I was not eyeing for, I was not vying for, and as life would have it, when you want manifestation, hoti hai na? When you want something, life just conspires for you to have the Shah Rukh Khan ka dialogue hai, but actually hota hai. And NIFT, the beautiful place that it is, it just fell on my lap. And I just took that opportunity. And, that brings me to the possibilities. Life throws possibilities of you when you start living it. I got chosen for the role of DJ NIFT when I was least expecting that it'll come my way. And with that, a world full of opportunities and possibilities have started presenting themselves to me. Like I said, the way I see my work now is an absolutely 180 degrees to what I used to see my work as, and a boss that I used to be. The practices that I do have given me a clarity to choose how I want to be, the kind of boss, colleague, or a co-worker. Interestingly, as an IS officers, this is what our training does to us. We always, without even telling us, the assumption is that you will become the boss from day one. You end up being in those positions. We are always ordering, we are always ruling, and of course we get work done, but the method of doing any work is using power. The position of superiority that I said right in the beginning, now when I do my work, now when I function, I know that the lens has to be different, my fulcrum and my positioning has to be different. So life now has taught me that there's nothing called a work-life balance. I don't believe that word. I'm sorry to say that. I do not believe in that. You are always at work because you're always living. Work, professional work, is just a part of your life. So there can't be a work-life balance. आप घर पे भी उतना ही work-life balance कर रहे होते हैं. Menu में क्या होगा, खाना क्या बनेगा? I've become a Blinkit mom. फ़ोन आते हैं मेरे को मीटिंग्स के बीच में from my son the moment he walks out of school, मम्मा ये order कर दो. So work-life balance is not the only thing that happens at work, because you're also working everywhere else at all the times. Work gets done because each and every member of a team plays a role. Because if they don't, nothing is happening. So I'm just maybe a facilitator or a mentor at the most. The progress happens because people choose to work and deliver. And my role most of the times is simply to keep them motivated and provide the direction to the team that they might waver in the meantime, while they're moving towards their goalpost. And as a woman, I have come to realize that it is necessary to break the stereotypes. The one most necessary to break is to feel successful and powerful only when you are doing good in your professional life. I don't believe in that. I believe as a woman, my primary role is that of a mother, and the lady of the house, that's my primary role. I become the other person, and I take the hat, the different one, when I walk out of my house. If I'm not doing that well and soaring high in my career, it's a point of reflection for my own self. We need to celebrate all women irrespective of where they are, because the feminine is the nurturer, and that's how the world really will sustain and remain a place to live happily and prosperously. Progress cannot come only with power. It can come when power is coupled with compassion, a quality that feminine embodies. The innate possibilities of the feminine is what each one of us need to recognize and tap into for our homes, workplaces, and the world to become an expression of who we really are. Thank you so much.